So welcome back. In this video we're going to do some code reformatting. We're going to go fix some mistakes and we're going to remove stuff that we're not currently using. For instance the print statements, and we'll add a comment here saying run the game. Initialize the game. We can move this to a config utils new Python file. Initialize, or actually not utils. We'll have to go core new game mechanics, add def initialize game config go, and then return player and space and fader. The space and faders import numpy as in pi from core.space and fader, import space and fader from player, import player, and then we'll say here in the main from core dot game mechanics import initialize game player and list, what's it called? List space invaders is initialize game config, and then here we'll say run game player list space invaders config for now, as well as user interface. And we import by game, import time. Anything else we need? Nope, that works. So now we can remove these from here. Say from core main initialize game and run game, and we can remove this comment now because it's no longer useful. So we say run game player is player list space invaders is list space invaders user interface and config is config. So now the main file already is much nicer to read, but we're also going to have to fix some stuff here because, for instance, here in the run game, really there's no reason to set a config for the screen width, right? So one thing we could do is, let's first say for the space invader, let's give it a slightly different way of movement, which is we'll give it a movement width. X coordinate, Y coordinate, param int movement width, which is the width, no, maximum movement, maximum refactor, rename, maximum Y, X position. That's going to be the position at X where the space invader will turn. and we'll add it here. So self dot maximum x coordinate. Of course, we're not using the word position, we're using coordinate, and it's always important to say consistent. Coordinate maximum x coordinate. The net is maximum x coordinate. So we can remove this screen width. Self dot maximum x coordinate. Then of course we can have to in the initialize we have to add it. So we say maximum x coordinate is config space invader maximum x coordinate. At least we will also config space invader height, config space invader width. So let's go fix that here. And maximum x coordinate is going to be 500. So now we have that. We can remove that from here because we don't need it anymore in the offset, and we can remove this, and then we can also remove it from here, right? Which really reduces the amount of information going around. Yes, initialize game. That seems about right. And now in run game, the other thing is here in draw screen, really we shouldn't have to rename space invader rectangle. We should just say space invader dot rectangle, and this we can define in a space invader. So import pygame, the rectangle is width and height. And then here, of course, every time we update our position, we also have to update our rectangle. And actually, we could better even split this into two parts. So we say this we would call the update coordinates, and this we'd call update rectangle. And I'm gonna add an underscore at the start, which means it's not to be used by outside sources. I'm gonna say self.update coordinates space invader here, and then I'll say self.update rectangle. So the underscore means it's only for internal use. and outside functions really should not try to touch it. Now that looks pretty good. Now if you go to our test, of course this no longer holds, right? Screen width, we'll add it here. So first we'll define it here at the top. Maximum x coordinate is 50. And we'll also say here maximum self.space invader maximum x coordinate is 0. So we overwrite the value here for this one test because it has a different setup than the others. And then this should work. Let's have a quick test. Although I did do 1,000 changes, so that seems to work quite fine actually. That's nice. Yes, that's very nice. So we're going to say the user interface still gets a player rectangle, and again we want to do player.rectangle instead of player underscore rectangle. We want to have the rectangle be a property of the player. So we're gonna cut this out and say player import Pygame with height self.rectangle is self.width is width, self.height is height. And then we're going to say move. We're going to rename this to have the same format. So we're going to say update position, player, refactor, rename, update position. I'm going to say def update coordinates direction, and self dot update coordinates direction self dot update rectangle. And then we can def update rectangle and just copy this line here. So now if we run this, width and height, of course we have to go and width is config player width and height is config player height. Let's check our config. Yes. Now one thing I've noticed, I just noticed actually, is that my template is still empty. So if somebody else were to come along and were to download this, they would not have a way of knowing what the config would look like, and they would have a very hard time trying to figure it out. So I'm just going to add that in directly. Now let's check this. And it seems to work. So that's cool. So we did some refactoring here. I still missed the width and height here, so I'm going to copy that actually from here. Of the player. So, and this is too much. There we go. I hope you followed it. And in the next session, we're going to have a look at inheritance, because the player and the Space Invader are very similar in very many ways. So it might be possible to actually fix some stuff so that it's easier to read the code still. Hope to see you next session, and see you there.